Welcome to Bruges, a thriving city in northwest Belgium and one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. Like every cobbly historic city I encounter as a wheelchair user, I knew this trip would be something of a challenge, but let me tell you, it was totally worth it. Do keep in mind I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user with a chronic illness, and I don't represent every disabled person's thoughts and experiences, but I really hope you enjoy this video. Hello, welcome back. You join me in, once again for a change, a Premier Inn, but we're in London King's Cross because I've just done the first leg of what is going to be a trip to Bruges in Belgium, which is so exciting. Very brief origin story of this trip. You might have seen last year that my best friend Izzy and I went to Dundee in Scotland, and I managed to pull that off as a surprise. She didn't know where we were going and it worked out really well. So I thought this year, you know what, I'm going to one-up myself, we're going to go international, and that's how this has happened. And yeah, like I say, Izzy has no idea where we're going yet. She knows we're going somewhere, she knows we're leaving the country, but other than that, she knows nothing. I think she's probably worked out that we're getting the Eurostar rather than flying because she knows we're staying in this hotel, which is literally bang opposite St Pancras, which makes it lovely and easy tomorrow morning. And Izzy's working today. She's getting the train down to London after she's finished work. I came down a little bit earlier so I can have like my rest and my quiet time and just try and keep as much to my routine as possible, which I find really helps when I'm doing stuff like this. So on that note, I'm going to go and have my rest now, but I'm really looking forward to the next few days. Any other guesses? We've ruled out France.
We've ruled out France just as a whole country. I don't think we're going to Amsterdam. I don't think we're going to Bruges.
It was at this point that the assistance people came, so I did have to verbally confirm that we were going on the Eurostar to Brussels, and Izzy worked out that we were indeed going to Bruges shortly after this, and she was very pleased about it. I filmed a separate reel about this journey, but basically the first leg was from London to Brussels, and that was very nice. It took 2 hours on the train, and I was very pleased with the allergen-friendly meal and the hot drinks too. And then once we arrived in Brussels, we boarded a local train link, which I'd also booked assistance for in advance. After an hour on that train, we arrived in lovely Bruges. We walked over to the hotel, and I'll let Past Pippa take it from there. Okay, let me start this by saying I don't think I booked the accessible room. So we've got a little bit creative with getting the wheelchair in, but it is very nice. This hotel is very lovely. Not what I was expecting actually, but it's very nice. Here's the bathroom, very nice. Slightly concerned about the concussion risk with this being here, but it's okay. Somebody's made herself right at home. Put your feet off. Charge extra for that. View pretty, I've not seen it yet.
It looks out on the courtyard.
I don't want to ask you to move, but I'm gonna, hang on, I'm rolling.
There's another window.
I'm rolling.
There, you silly chuff. Sorry.
Oh, cute. Pretty. I just thought I'd pick up the vlog to update you on the time that's passed since we last spoke. I went to bed and I had my lovely rest. Why don't you tell the vlog what you've been up to while I've been resting?
So I went for a lovely meander around the cobbled streets of Bruges, and on my return I got in the lift. I pressed the number 3 button to come up to the top floor, and when it got to the top floor the lift did not open. I was subsequently stuck in the lift for 45 minutes. But it was okay because I'd gone to the shop to get snacks, so like keep in the hotel room for later. So I had my crisps and I had my hummus.
You were remarkably calm. If I may say so, it's wildly inconsistent with your personality.
I know. I don't know what happened, honestly. Maybe this is me. Maybe being stuck in the lift has made me really like zen.
Yeah, exposure therapy. Although I don't recommend that we do it again, which leads me to the other issue. We are currently on the 3rd floor of this hotel. My wheelchair is currently with me. My big chonky Wilma. You've seen her before if you've seen my videos. They had to force the lift doors open to get Izzy out.
Sorry.
It's not funny, I shouldn't laugh.
It's entirely my fault.
It's not though.
No, but it's not the hotel's fault.
It's nobody's fault. These things happen, but the fact is that it has happened, and now there is currently no way for me to get out of this room unless we take the wheelchair apart and carry it down 3 very steep flights of stairs. So as far as we know, an engineer is currently fixing the lift, and that is all we know. So yeah, stay tuned.
But we've got lots of contingency plans. We've got about 14 at the moment.
We've got contingency plans, and like Izzy said, more importantly, we've got tortilla chips, we've got hummus, we've got a can-do attitude.
You've got some chocolate as well?
I've got my Nomo.
Yes.
So, you know what, all things considered, we're still in Bruges.
We're still in Bruges, we've got Wi-Fi. Right,
a bit of context because there's a big narrative gap coming up. So after Izzy was rescued from the lift, we were sat in the room waiting for them to repair it because obviously I couldn't really go anywhere because the power chair was in the room and we were on the 3rd floor. There was no way of me getting out with the power chair. And we were told that like there was an engineer coming and it'd be fixed imminently. But an hour passed and it still wasn't fixed, and we hadn't eaten, and we were like, well, what do we do? So we were weighing up our options, and in the end, like the hotel was in quite a good location, to be fair. So we found like an Irish bar, like sort of like a 2-ish minute walk away. And I was like, you know what, I'll just do it without my wheelchair. The distance was no problem, actually. I can walk 2 minutes. The thing that had killed me off was coming up the 3 flights of stairs after I'd gone to try and rescue Izzy from the lift. Walking up the 3 flights of stairs had made me really poorly. So it wasn't ideal that I had to do that. And it was quite sad that we kind of lost an evening in Bruges because I didn't have my power chair and we couldn't go any further. But we just tried to make the best of it. We had a nice evening, we came back. And the next morning, as you might imagine, I was in quite a bit of pain. I didn't feel very well. So in the next few clips you're going to see, I'm not talking very much. There is a moment where you see I come back to life, I reboot. But yeah, that's why there's a bit of a gap there. But still managed to really enjoy the morning, and those are the clips you're going to see now. Very big on the biscuit with your hot drink culture here. Yes. Can definitely get on board with that. Right, it's okay everyone, I've perked up a bit now. We're back alive. Normal programming has resumed. We've had a nice morning, we've had a hot drink, we sat down and had a hot drink, and now, very excitingly, we are going to the Frietmuseum. Absolute essential. Thank you. Okay, thank you. There we go, thank you. I've found the title of my autobiography.
My memory isn't very good.
It's better than mine. Come on, you can do this. Yes, you score. We're back in Izzy's terror zone.
This is a phone. I don't have any snacks this time.
Oh no. I've got half an empty bar. Oh, here we go. This is me going over the cobbles in Bruges. This is what it's like. What is happening? Oh god, they're going again.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, just for you and the big cabaret, the true secret of Belgian pride.
Oh Jesus Christ, no, I'm going. If we're doing flashing lights, I'm off. What's happening? What am I supposed to do?
You meant to cut them.
What? Oh! Yeah. Why
No,
can't...
not the rock, the
Oh no!
potato.
Oh god, it's all falling apart. Oh.
Okay, so
27 out of 85.
Shame.
Oh no, that's very sad. Thank you for your participation. You've done a great job. Tell another one. I'll have all of the fries, please.
I think I've got this frying pan.
Oh my god, yeah, that looks like a tefal.
We actually do actually want to.
Mega quiz! But there's another menu. I was just thinking that. Who launched a packet of Belgian chips into space?
Elon Musk.
Yay!
Finally. How long do you think this was going to be?
I'm getting a bit bored now. We're choosing not to continue our participation. It is so quiet in here, it's awesome. We're like the only ones in here. How do you shoot it?
With a little button.
Oh, sorry guys, I'm gonna put you down. Well, that was a very enjoyable time. I don't know what I was expecting, but I don't think it was that.
My mother was nice flowers.
Oh no, please no, not the potato fry song.
Da, 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 da.
Oh no, yeah, highly recommend the Frietmuseum. Some good games going on there. Forgive me just being stood up. I just wanted to show you my new top that I really like, and there's no full length mirror in the room, so I wanted to get a good look. But yeah, I got this from Blackbird earlier and I really like it. And you can kind of see the back of it. Yeah, that's my top. I'm gonna get down now.
How are you going to get down there?
That's a good question. It's been really nice knowing you all. Frietmuseum, what a joy, what an unexpected joy. That is something unlike anything I've done before in my life. I don't think I'll ever again come across the Fries cabaret performance again in my life, so I feel very privileged to witness that first and foremost. I'm now back at the hotel for a rest. This is my usual sort of routine whether I'm on holiday or not. But a while ago I had a really lovely comment from someone saying, I was just wondering what Izzy gets up to while you're resting, because they're in a kind of similar position, like what do your friends do if you need rest breaks? So today
Very comfortable.
it looks it, just not very camera friendly, I don't think. So when Izzy goes off on her little adventures, as she does, well actually I should say first and foremost, sometimes you stay in the room, don't you? Yeah. So when I'm resting, Izzy will like also have some chill out time. You will 99% of the time you'll be watching Drag Race.
Yeah.
But most of the time you'll go out for a little wander, won't you? You'll go and like take your book or get a coffee or go and do something. So when Izzy goes out today, I won't call it a vlog takeover because I think that'll stress you out a bit, won't it?
I'm going to record some of my mischief
Yes.
that I get up to.
So
Yeah.
so while I'm going to go and rest out, and the next thing you'll see will be some of Izzy's mischief. Right, we're up. I've had a rest. Hopefully Izzy's got some clips of her adventures. What?
She's locked. She's loaded. She's ready to attack.
Izzy's been to the Torture Museum, which I do have some objections to. I think it's given her lots of inspo. But honestly, when I was looking at places, like when I was planning this trip where we were going to go, I was looking at what was it each place, and I remember seeing that the Torture Museum was in Bruges, and I remember thinking, oh, Izzy'd like that.
Izzy did like that.
Good. And the other thing I forgot to say before is that when Izzy does go out and have her adventures, it's generally the case that you will go and do something that's not accessible.
Yes.
Like something that I wouldn't be able to do or that I'm not particularly interested in doing. Like, so it works kind of in that way as well, especially in Bruges where, I'll talk about this another time, but there are actually quite a lot of the main tourist attractions that aren't accessible for wheelchair users. So I'm glad that you're getting to do some of them. I want you to do as many of them as you can. But I'm especially glad that you did the Torture Museum. I feel like that really...
It is a passion of mine.
It is. We're just getting ready and I'm still remarkably full from the chips. I never thought I would say this, but I never want to see another chip. I was going to say in my life, but that's quite a big statement. I don't want to see any chips anytime soon. We're going to meander around, find somewhere to eat, ideally by the waterside, because we've seen some gorgeous places, it's just whether they've got availability or not. Right, Izzy's picked this up on her travels today, and we're just trying to ascertain how one goes about doing a chocolate shot. So I do think you have to eat it and then do the shot. I don't see... Well, yeah.
That's like a tiny... It doesn't feel like it can be squeezed.
Then you're going to have to eat the chocolate. That's the only way.
Oh,
are you having it now or are you saving it?
Whatever will I do? I'll probably have it now, but I'm not going to have it on camera.
No, that's absolutely valid.
That was so good. Because like the chocolate was incredible, and then you got like the sharpness. Because I got a whiskey cola one.
Oh, a whiskey?
Whiskey cola.
Whiskey cola?
Yeah, it was whiskey cola.
She just looked up at me and went, I'm changed. Oh, well, good.
Really nice.
Good, I'm glad you enjoyed
The problem
it.
is...
No more. Not until you've had your tea.
Oh, no. I might have to like buy a load to take home.
Oh, I can support that. I think that's fine. Good, I'm pleased for you. This is the second time I'm filming this clip because I had chocolate around my mouth the first time. I make no apology. But we've just put the wheelchair back in the room because I've also got an electrolyte in, I do apologise. But there are no wheelchair accessible boat tours that you can do in Bruges, but the canal tour is like a really big thing and we both really want to do it. And we think there might be one within walking distance, within my reasonable walking distance, which is not that far. And because the lifts in the hotel are working, we're going to try. We're going to see if we can do it. I'm feeling optimistic. So we're going to try and do the canal tour and then I'm going to come back here and rest. Absolutely lovely. That was a good time. I feel all like drowsy and calm. It's lovely. Really worth doing if you're able to do it. I appreciate not everybody will be, but yeah, could have stayed on there all day. Oh, this was a bit of a tricky one to get up from, but I'm actually doing okay. Izzy is still out somewhere, but I'm gonna go and meet her soonish. What's happening next, Izzy? She's been looking forward to this all day.
We are having pasta. We are having copious amounts of pasta and it's going to be amazing. I'm recording you.
You can't start recording me after saying your face looks wrong.
No, it's not your face, it's just the lipstick on your chin. And I was actually on about the lighting because like the sun's against you.
It's very hot.
It does look like you're in the tropics.
I'll take that. No, I was going to say, we're having pasta because if there's two foods I don't want to see again after this holiday, it's mussels and chips, both of which delicious. And I never thought I would say this, but I do not want to see another chip in my life. And I know I said that yesterday and then I had them for tea, but that was not my doing. And those chips were very nice as well. But tonight I am not having chips and I don't want to see chips again for a very long time.
I bet you any money that when you get back to your flat on Sunday, you deliver yourself a McDonald's.
There is a very real possibility that might happen.
With chips.
Although I'm on a budget, so it's my freezer
Frozen chips.
Yeah, frozen chips.
Freezer McDonald's.
Freezer McDonald's. How cool! That was in the menu. No red plate. Better look next time. Oh, so if you get a red one, you get your meal for free. I can't get it out, but I don't think it's red. That's so cool. Good morning, we're just packing up the last bits and getting ready to leave this hotel. We're just travelling back today, but we're getting an earlier train from Bruges to Brussels, and then we've got a couple of hours spare before we get the Eurostar from Brussels back to London. I will miss hearing these bells all the time. They ring on the hour, but they pretty much ring every minute in between as well, and it's so lovely. They play songs, and we figured out Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but we've not figured out the rest yet, and now the mystery will remain unsolved, so we're just gonna have to come back. Okay, so we packed up and headed back to the train station where we got on the train from Bruges to Brussels. Again, it was nice and easy to find the assistance point, so we did the train journey with no issues at all. Once we got to Brussels, we realised that 2 hours is a long time, but not really long enough to do anything properly in a city this size, so we walked over to the Grand Place, I think is how you say it. We marvelled at the beautiful buildings, and then we turned around and went back again. I was also a bit of a faint risk this day, hence why I'm not talking in any of these clips, but we checked in for the Eurostar, and oh my goodness, the business lounge at Brussels was and is otherworldly. It was so good. We also made some friends on the way back on the Eurostar, which made the journey pass nice and quickly, and then I got straight back on a train back up to York, where I spent the next few days resting and recovering. So if you were just here for the vlog, I hope you enjoyed it, but if you're now fancying a trip to Bruges yourself, here are some things you might find helpful to know. I'll start off with the Eurostar because we had a really positive experience of travelling this way. It didn't necessarily work out any cheaper than it would have done to fly, especially given that we had the hotel stay the night before as well. But I think for me the main thing was just being able to travel in my wheelchair rather than hand it over and have it go through luggage. Being able to have the wheelchair with me the entire time gave me such a peace of mind, and in that sense it did feel a lot easier than flying. It felt like there were less elements to consider, especially given that I'd booked the assistance in advance. I'd booked this quite a while ago, but I think I looked at the different times and the different options online on the Eurostar website, and then I think I rung up and purchased the tickets at the same time as I booked assistance. I'm pretty sure that's what I did, just to check that I'd understood everything correctly and I wasn't going to mess up if I did it myself. Anyway, I picked my times, and the guy I spoke to on the assistance line was genuinely so lovely and helpful. We had a really nice chat as well. He was telling me about Bruges, he was telling me all of this stuff. And during that call, he basically asked what my needs were. He put down that I would need the ramp. If you require the wheelchair space, you automatically get bumped up from standard tickets to standard premier tickets at no extra cost. And standard premier is a little bit of an upgrade, and you get like free food and like drinks, which is obviously a really big perk and really lovely. So while I was on the phone sorting out my assistance, I also used that opportunity to tell him about my dietary requirements for the meal. I have travelled by Eurostar twice before, both times to Disneyland Paris, and in the past, I have requested a dairy-free meal, and it's through that I know that there might be a bit of a language barrier. The Eurostar's definition of dairy-free means just free from milk, whereas in the UK, we generally think about it as meaning free from milk and egg. And because I can't have milk or egg, last time I got a dairy-free meal, I couldn't have it because it still contained egg. So this time I thought I'm just going to save a load of faff and I'm just going to ask for the vegan one. I try and eat plant-based anyway, so that's absolutely fine. And they can't guarantee nut-free or any other sort of more specific allergens, but if you book in advance, they will do their best to accommodate that. And during my journey, I was really happy to see that I was delivered a specially catered meal, and every component was individually packaged, and it had the allergens written on the front, so I could really clearly see that what I was being served was safe for me, so that was a really big treat. There was also soft drinks, alcohol, hot drinks, and they had oat milk for tea, so my heart was very happy about that. If you do travel by Eurostar and you get the upgrade to standard premier, I would advise going through the check-in process early so you can make the most of using the lounge before you start travelling. The lounges are really nice, and again, it's more free food, it's more snacks, so you've really got to make the most of that. And it's also nice and peaceful and calm, which is really great if you struggle with like sensory overload or you're managing fatigue. We didn't have much time in the London lounge before we had to travel, but in Brussels we did get to spend a bit more time in that lounge, and it was absolutely gorgeous. As for the Eurostar Journey itself, it was really comfortable, it was a nice space, it was very clean, the staff were very friendly. The ramp is fabulous because instead of being a steep ramp, it's almost like, I don't even know how you describe it, it's at a right angle, so you do a little bit and then you turn, and then you do a little bit and you turn. And personally I love that, I think that's great. I wish they did that in more trains in the UK, to be honest. The only downside in my experience is that you have to stay in your wheelchair when you're on the Eurostar. You can't transfer to a seat, and they made me aware of that when I was booking. Personally, I always like to transfer to a seat because I'm more comfortable that way. My wheelchair doesn't have a high back, so I was a little bit sad about that, especially given that I wanted to rest and I wanted to sleep, but there wasn't really anywhere I could put my head, so I kind of just had my head in my hands leaning forward. Just so you're aware of that, you will have to stay in your wheelchair. It's also worth knowing that there are wheelchair spaces that can accommodate multiple wheelchair users. So on the Eurostar on the way back from Brussels, we were opposite another pair who one of whom was a wheelchair user and one of whom was a friend, like mine and Izzy's situation. And yeah, made a new friend, had lovely chats with them all the way back, so that was really lovely. So if there's more than one wheelchair user in your party, you might be able to sit together, which is really nice. In terms of the journey, I am doing a separate reel about this, so I'll make sure that's on YouTube, that kind of goes into more depth as to like how the journey played out and how we got from one place to the other. But essentially we got the Eurostar to Brussels, and then we got a connecting train to Bruges, the connecting train just being one of the typical Belgian train lines. I also booked that assistance in advance, and I only knew how to do this because when I booked the Eurostar tickets, I asked the guy on the phone, what do I do about this second journey? And I believe he said that you can't book assistance until 6 weeks before you travel, so I had some time to wait. But when the time came to book the assistance, there was an app called SNCB, SNCB Assist. You can just download it from the App Store, and it works very, very similar to passenger assistance in the UK. So you just search for your journey and you book the assistance that you need. All of that went very smoothly. I was actually watching how they were doing the assistance because it was like you had somebody take you to the platform and deploy the ramp like you would in the UK. But then I think the conductor on the train had to get off and sign off that there was a disabled passenger on board. So it was like they were very aware of it as well. Although we did speak to these people who we made friends with on the Eurostar on the way back, and they had been in Ghent, which is another city near Bruges, and they had some issues with assistance on the local trains, but our experience was very good. So you know what I'm saying, take it with a pinch of salt, but yeah, definitely book the assistance if you need it. Anything else that might be helpful to know? Brussels station is massive. So if you are doing the connection, if you're getting the Eurostar into Brussels and then you're getting on a connecting train, leave plenty of time to make that connection. Brussels station has toilets that you pay to use. There is an accessible toilet that you don't have to pay to use, but it is absolutely rank. I would highly, highly encourage you not to use that if you can at all help it. Maybe it was a one-off, but it didn't look like it. It looked like it had been in that state for a while. Next, I'm going to briefly talk about the hotel. I haven't got too much to say about this because I don't know that I would necessarily recommend it. In lots of ways, it was lovely and the staff were really nice. It was called Hotel Petritus, something like that. And the reason I booked it is primarily because there was a good deal on booking.com, and they had a room that you could get to in a wheelchair, although not necessarily an accessible room, although I was very aware of that when I was booking. It was a tighter squeeze than I was expecting, and the room was next to a flight of stairs, which made coming in and out in my power chair a little bit dicey. And like you will have seen in the vlog, we had the issue where poor old Izzy got stuck in the lift for 45 minutes. And I probably will have also mentioned that the lift was basically out of action the first night we were there, and that essentially meant that we lost a night in Bruges, which was really sad, but these things happen. I will say, however, that the location of the hotel was really good. Bruges is quite a small city anyway, so nothing felt really far away, but wherever we looked at going, it seemed like the hotel was in quite a good location for that. Next, I'll talk a little bit about food and drink. Obviously, Bruges and Belgium are really big destinations for foodies. They are very well known for their waffles, their chocolate. And then the other one I didn't realise until I got there is that they're very well known for their fries, chips. Like Belgian chips are a really big thing, and I didn't know that before we went there. And the mussels are supposed to be really good as well. And all of those things in my experience did live up to the hype. If you're vegan, there are lots of good options, but you have to research them in advance. Like you will get lots of great vegetarian and vegan options, but they will generally be in like a dedicated cafe. It's not necessarily the case that you're going to be able to go anywhere and find something vegan on the menu. So I would highly advise doing your research in advance. The breakfast place we went to called Blackbird was absolutely gorgeous. I loved it so much. I would have happily gone there again. But if you do want to go there, it's advisable to book in advance because it does get very busy. There is a step to get in. Some wheelchairs might get up it, or there are a few outdoor tables as well. And the food was like stunning, so good. Finding vegan waffles is something that I thought would be a bit of a struggle, but again, from researching online, I found the place called Chocolate Bar, which is where we went. There was nothing peanutty on the menu as far as I'm aware. Obviously, always double check these things for yourself. From my research, I also saw that there was another place called Otto Waffle. Apparently they also do vegan waffles that are like oat based, and I bet they were really nice, but that one was a bit riskier in terms of allergens for me. I'll just flag something that's really bad actually, and I kind of wish I'd said something more at the time. There was one place that we went to where there were options on the menu labelled as vegan, but when I showed them my little allergy card, they couldn't serve them to me. And when I asked why, they said it's because the vegan options contain milk. So if you are choosing vegan options because you have a milk allergy or an intolerance, I'm sure you know this already, but it's really important to double check that for yourself. I thought it was really bad that they did that, because somebody could have ordered that and then come to serious harm because of it. And then the other thing to double check actually, if I go out somewhere in the UK and I can't find an option on the menu that's safe for me because I have multiple allergies, I generally know that there are going to be chips on the menu, and chips are normally safe for me. Whereas in Belgium, because chips are something of a specialty, they have a lot of funky extra ingredients. So don't necessarily assume that ordering chips or fries is going to be safe. You still need to check the allergens for those things. And the last thing I'll say about food and drink is that there are a few accessible places, but a lot of places aren't. So if I were you, I would be prepared to sit outside, whether that's travelling at a warmer time of year or making sure that you're wrapped up and comfortable. Because we ended up relying on outdoor seating a lot, not necessarily through choice, although it was lovely and we were very lucky with the weather. So be prepared for the fact that you might have to sit outside if somewhere isn't accessible. One thing I did forget to mention, make sure you take your insect repellent. It didn't really occur to me that this would be an issue, and also I never really get bitten, but these are so swollen and so painful, and this is a week on. They look better here than they have done any other day. But yeah, I think with Bruges being a canal city, make sure you're prepared for that. I've had these checked out by a pharmacist because I know that insect bites aren't something to mess with when you're in my situation, and we're all okay, but would rather have avoided this, and make sure you take your repellent. Okay, let's talk about attractions. And this is, again, one of the things where I kind of had to like manage my attitude before I went into it, because I was prepared for the fact that a lot of the main attractions and a lot of the things that people go to Bruges for aren't wheelchair accessible. So things like the Belfort Tower obviously isn't accessible because you have to walk up 300 steps. But also the Chocolate Museum isn't accessible, the Beer Museum isn't accessible, there aren't any wheelchair accessible canal tours. The Fries Museum was fantastic, far exceeded my expectations, and the only reason we really did that is because we couldn't do any of the other museums, so we thought, you know what, we'll go to the Fries Museum. It was like €11 per person, and we had a great time in there. It was lovely. It was especially good given that it wasn't busy when we went, but yeah, not what I expected at all, but we did have a lot of fun in there. Would definitely recommend visiting. But if you are visiting, we were told in advance that the fries at the If you are visiting, we were told that the cafe that serves fries that is attached to the Fries Museum doesn't do the best fries, if that makes sense. So if you want good fries, don't get them from the Fries Museum, get them from somewhere else. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I said, there aren't any wheelchair accessible canal tours, but I'm really glad that we found a way to make that work for us. I appreciate that won't be an option for everybody, but there are different points where you can get on over the river. So if you do have one within something of a walking distance, or if you have like a transit wheelchair that you're prepared to leave or somebody to stay with it, I think the canal tour was the favourite thing I did in Bruges, and I know it was the same for Izzy as well. It was really enjoyable. Could have stayed on there for ages. And if you are walking but you struggle to stand, I was really pleased to see that after you went down a flight of steps to get to the canal side, there were sort of benches lining the wall. So while you were waiting to get on a boat, I could sit down, and that was a massive, massive perk for me. I wish more places did that. You will have to be able to lift up your leg to actually get on the boat. So be aware of that if you have mobility issues. And I'll also say as well that most of the view for most of the canal tour is other people taking pictures. So you have to be prepared to kind of like lean and crane your neck a bit. But even all of that aside, it was really, really enjoyable. I still can't say the name of the really pretty park, Minnewater. We didn't get to spend as much time there as I would have liked to. We were both struggling a bit that day, but the bit we saw was absolutely beautiful, and I think on a good weather day in particular, you could easily spend a lot of time wandering around there. We didn't use any public transport, but from what I could see, the buses looked accessible and they looked fairly easy to embark and disembark, so that was good to know. And I think just the other thing to really make clear is that Bruges is a cobbly city. And again, I knew this in advance. I knew it was going to be a bit tricky. I knew it was probably going to be a bit painful. And I'm just really glad that I had my wheelchair to do this trip, because if I was using my old wheelchair Janice, there is absolutely no way she would have survived it, and I probably wouldn't have survived it either. Yeah, be prepared for the fact that it's going to be a bumpy ride, and also the dropped curbs, a lot of them aren't really dropped. So whatever mobility aid you're using, it's really important that you're aware of that in advance, because it will be hard work to get around. And the same goes for shops. There were some accessible shops, and I didn't really feel like I was missing out that much in terms of the shopping, but there are a lot of places that are up at least one step. So yeah, take that into account when you're planning. When I was telling other people that we were going to Bruges on the sly so that Izzy didn't find out, a few people asked why I'd chosen there knowing that it wasn't going to be the most accessible place. And I think purely because I'd heard such good things about the city. It's not a big city, but all of the pictures I'd seen were stunning, and like the pictures didn't do justice to how beautiful it is in real life. Like, it's all this medieval architecture, and like there are all these buildings that are sort of terraced and next to each other, but we kept stopping and staring because each building was so individual and so unique. Like, even the brickwork was different on each one, and no two of them were the same. And oh my gosh, in the town square as well, all those majestic buildings around the Belfort Tower, it's stunning. It is so pretty. I keep using the word stunning, but like, I don't know what other word I can use. And I feel really, really lucky that I've been able to see that for myself. It made all of the difficulties worthwhile in my experience. What else did I want to say? In terms of social attitudes, nothing like that was like a major red flag. A few people staring, but no more than there would be anywhere else. I sometimes, when we were talking to like sort of like the assistance people or like disability conscious people, they would be staring at my wheelchair, but then they would explain that it's because my wheelchair apparently looks quite unique. And I do know that it doesn't look like a lot of other power chairs just because of the wheels and how the wheels are created. I don't know, I feel like the Will C2, which is the power chair I've got, I feel like that's quite popular in the UK, whereas in Belgium it doesn't seem to be as popular. So if anything, people were just quite intrigued by the wheelchair and how the wheels worked. Yeah, one of the people who we were talking to was laughing because they said I look like a villain, but they said it in a nice way, and honestly I'm kind of here for it. Like, that's not something I get very often, so I was like, yeah, I can be a villain, I can be a powerful baddie, I can get on board with that. Bruges definitely isn't the easiest place I've visited. It definitely isn't the most accessible place I've visited, but I'm so glad that I did visit. It's unlike anywhere I've been before. It's beautiful beyond words, and I would go back again in a heartbeat. If you have the opportunity to go, be mindful of the challenges you might face, but don't necessarily count it out because of those things. It was doable, even though we had to get creative, and like just being mentally prepared for it is a really big thing. It's also worth saying that a lot of people have been sharing really positive experiences of the Eurostar lately, myself included, but there are other disabled people who haven't had positive experiences. So like any form of transport, you can't bank on having a positive experience, and you never really know how it's going to go, although I really hope that changes. But for me personally, I really enjoyed the Eurostar, and it's definitely given me a lot of food for thought for like planning future trips. I really enjoyed that method of travel, and like I said, not having to send my wheelchair away, that was a really big thing. This is like I've done 2 big trips fairly close together outside of the UK, and I have got a couple of little UK based trips coming up in the next few months, which I'm so excited about. I am feeling like a bit of a fraud in YouTube because I'm conscious that I'm sharing lots of like travel vlogs in a row. And I know I don't have to prove anything, but just so you know, like the time between is very different to what you see in those vlogs. Rest and recovery is the priority, and just sorting my life out. So always conscious of highlighting the fact that these videos are very much a highlight reel, although I do try and keep it real in terms of chronic illness. But yeah, just wanted to say that given what's coming next, and then the one after that probably. Right, shut up Pippa, that's enough. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. You can subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next time.